So, as most of you probably know, I am a dancer. I dance several days a week for hours on end, and I'm currently enrolling in Riverton Dance Company. So I've been dancing for a few years, and I decided it would be fun to make a tutorial on the parts of a pointe shoe for those of you who may be thinking about starting dance, thinking about going on pointe, just wondering about pointe shoes in general, if you're curious, or whatever. So before I get started, I just want to let everyone know that if you are a dancer or are thinking about becoming one, enrolling in a studio, you need to get the permission of your dance instructor before you start going on pointe, because it is very dangerous and you have to take a test before you buy your first pair to make sure that your ankles and calves are strong enough to handle it. So, let's get started. The first part of the pointe shoe that we are going to talk about is the ribbons. Ribbons are probably the most important part of a pointe shoe, because if you don't have the ribbons sewn on, then how are you supposed to keep the pointe shoe on while you're dancing? So when you go to your first pointe shoe fitting, they offer you two different kinds of ribbons. You can either get satin ones like these, or you can get elastic ones, which are much stretchier and are easier on the muscles. So there's a certain way you have to tie them, and when you do get the ribbons, you are supposed to sew them onto the shoes yourself. They don't come sewn on to the pointe shoes. This part right here is the elastic of the pointe shoe. It's not like the ribbon, it's more stretchy, it's thicker, it's more sturdy, it's what keeps the pointe shoe sticking to your foot. So that's essential to the pointe shoe. This part of the shoe right here, just the curve of that, is called the throat. I'm not sure why it's called the throat, but it is, and they can either be square, they can be pointy, or they can just be circular. It depends on the pointe shoe that you get. Normally, you're not ever going to find a square one. So, the next part of the pointe shoe is the binding. This part right here. The binding. And inside that area is a long piece of elastic that you can pull and tighten and tie right here to keep the pointe shoe tight and in place. That's what keeps it on your foot. So this part of the pointe shoe right here is called the vamp. When you go to a pointe shoe fitting, usually they will first determine your vamp size in width. Small, medium, large. Usually they determine the vamp size in terms of X's. So for example, if you have 2 X's, you have a very thin vamp length. If you have 4 or more, the vamp length is going to be wider. Does that make sense? Okay, this part of the pointe shoe is the platform. That is the part that you dance on, of course. Probably the most important part of the shoe itself. Okay, this part right here, that is the outer toe sole. It's basically just made of this leathery material. It's kind of slippery because, of course, you're not meant to dance on that part of the shoe. This whole area from about there down to there is called the box. And the reason it's called a box is obviously because it kind of looks like a box, and if you were to knock on it, it would sound like wood, because it is made of wood and it's super hard in order to keep you standing up and in place. This area right here is called the quarter. I'm not sure why it's called that, but the quarter is basically just where some of the binding connects to the outer heel sole, which is this part right here. So the last part of the pointe shoe is probably the most important part. And I've drawn a lot on these, so it's probably kind of hard to see what I'm writing now. But on the inside of the shoe is this material that runs from there down to there. It's super tough, it's bendable yet tough, and it's super firm, and it is what bends to the arch of your foot. It is the reason you can stand on pointe. It holds you up and it keeps you in place while you're standing there, and it is called the shank. I don't have room to write it over there, but it's called the shank, and it's the main purpose of what the pointe shoe is. It keeps you up and in place. If the shank is too bendy, if it's too flexible, then the pointe shoe is dead and it is unsafe to dance on it anymore. When you buy a new pair of pointe shoes, the shank is usually super firm and not very easy to bend, so it's important to break the shank in before you dance on it, which means just to bend it a lot. That was horrible, I don't know what that is. But to bend it a lot, so that you can easily dance on it and it can support you in the right way. So I hope this helped for any of you who are looking to buy your first pair of pointe shoes or just to start ballet in general. So, thanks for watching.